What is your favorite VHS that you had as a kid? No. Stop. It's not.
It was orange.
Okay, thank God.
It was, the whole VHS itself was orange.
Okay. But it's not the Jack Frost movie?
No, it's not.
Gosh.
It's not.
Entire
I watched
VHS.
this one. I watched this one. Me and Reagan probably watched this like...
It's not Good Burger, though.
No, but we did
That's
have that
the
one
first
too.
orange
That's
one that
also
comes to
orange.
mind when I
Yeah,
think
no,
of
it's Harriet the Spy.
Oh. I remember that.
Little
On the
young
cover,
Michelle
she has
Trachtenberg.
this little... I'm going to go with a movie that got a lot of plays around my household for some reason. Jingle All the Way.
Ugh.
With Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I only ever watched that at my neighbor's house and I hated it.
So good. It's turbo time.
Hey everybody,
Hello,
welcome back to the Post Show, the host of the Mo Show, Mo and Joe.
Mo and Joe Show.
Mojo Show.
Mojo Show.
Mojo.
Mojo Jojo Show.
Nice. That was my nickname growing up. Did you know that about me?
Yeah, well, it's because you're a monkey with a big exposed brain.
Yeah, Mojo Jojo is what my childhood best friend called me, and then it
because
just
you're kind of evil.
kind of transformed to Jojo.
Yeah.
But I don't like that nickname.
We're here to talk all things prayer, prayer requests, prayer denial,
prayer denial, yeah.
prayer
Beads,
prayer meals,
prayer rocks.
Yes. Yeah, it does. Levi.
That wasn't even time for the funnies, and
No.
we were funny. Wow,
Yeah,
go us.
We are. Levi was talking this week about the persistence of prayer.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Levi and I meet to talk weekly, just very briefly, like for like 1 minute, about what he's going to talk about, so that hopefully our Instagram message and our from the stage message can commingle a little bit.
Mesh.
This is Levi and I holding hands in the spirit of the Lord. And it never happens. So like he'll tell me one thing and then I'll be like, oh, I get you. And then my thing is over here.
I know. Well, it's funny that you say that, because when I heard you talking about it with him today, I was like, that was a very short amount of time. And Mike's like, yeah, I got it. I got something.
Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
But the reason I say it is because he was talking about the persistence of prayer, and my thought process wasn't even on like the idea of like being persistent so that you can achieve what you would like or to receive the thing that you're praying for. I was thinking about just the process of persistently praying.
Consistently.
Yeah, persistently, consistently, just like praying, like in what entering into that process looks like.
Yeah.
Are we good on the airplane? He was talking about persistence of prayer, and one of the things that you brought up in our little pre-post meeting was talking about like what are some of the like bigger prayers that we've seen answered, either immediately or the one that we prayed persistently for. And the first thing that came to my mind was a story about Willie, and it's a story that Willie, when it happened, he told me to never talk about. So I'm going to talk about it real quick.
Hopefully he doesn't edit this out.
Yeah. Beep. He'll just cut right here. It'll just go right to your one. But one time Willie and I were out climbing. This was like early in our days of climbing. Maybe one of the first times, if not the first time we'd ever climbed outdoors by ourselves. We bought gear, didn't really know how to use it. We went out to a spot, a little cliff called Crack in the Woods, and it was the end of winter, springtime, like there was a little bit of snow on the path. Anyways, we get there and we rock, paper, scissors for who gets to climb first. I win.
Yeah.
Willie goes to hike my boots up to the top of the cliff so I can walk down with boots on instead of my climbing shoes. And he gets up there and he's taking a long time. And I decide to pray real quick, and I just pray that God will keep me safe, because we had elected to climb without rope on that day. We just decided to climb up this cliff without rope on. We were both really good climbers at the time, so we figured it would be okay.
And you had the gear below you to catch you if you fell.
No. We had an inflatable mattress.
Yeah, you had like a crash.
No.
pad.
No. I'm not even talking about like a blow-up mattress. I'm talking about like a sleeping pad that you use.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, we had one
Never
sleeping
mind.
pad on
I'm
the
giving
ground.
you too much credit.
Yeah, and a tarp. A sleeping pad and a tarp. And anyways, so Willie goes to hike it up. I'm praying just that God would keep me safe on my climb, that we would be safe, that we would get to go home at the end of the day and just have a good day of climbing, celebrating the Lord. And it's not something I do every time before I climb. I don't just sit down and think, oh, it's time to pray, But Willie's taking a while, so I call up to him like, hey, what's going on? He goes, oh, it's really icy up here. And I was like, oh, okay, we'll take your time. A minute later, I hear an explicit word, which is not Willie's
usual
MO.
vocabulary.
Yeah, and I look up and see Willie sliding off the edge of the cliff. And he slides off between two trees that are, maybe a 6-foot gap between them, over a small little rock field, slams onto the trail that we had walked up on his side. I thought he's dead. Like, my brain instantly went there, like, Willie's dead. I don't know how to drive, so I'm like, I'm gonna have to carry his body to the car. Like, this is already processing through my mind. I run over to him. He starts to move a little bit, gets up, and he's like, I'm fine. And I was like, dude, you're not fine, chill. You have like adrenaline right now. You're obviously injured. Just like sit down, take a rest. And he's like, no, I think I'm okay. He's like moving, trying the joints out. And he's like, yeah, I think I'm all right. It's like, you're not. You just fell off a cliff. Chill. So we sat down. We had a loaf of bread for some reason. We were just eating bread. I remember Curry, the dog, was there, and we sat down. And I remember the next day he told me, like, I feel like I got hit by a car, but like I'm fine. Like, no broken bones, no nothing. Like, he was okay. And it was just crazy because I got to see prayer take hold instantaneously. Like, the Lord was obviously protecting Willie from that fall.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that as your example, because I feel like Willie is a part of one of my biggest answered prayers as well, of which for the better part of my even late teen and adult life, I prayed
I always prayed that someone would make you a pizza board, like something that you could,
a pizza peel?
Yeah. That's what you've been looking for, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I always prayed like that I would one day get married. That was a big aspiration of mine, to have a family.
Yeah.
And I prayed for that for a long time, and it felt like it was never going to happen. And there were seasons of discouragement, seasons of waiting patiently and all that stuff. And obviously, as most everybody watching this probably knows, Willie and I are going to be getting married at the end of the summer. So that's a really big answered prayer of mine that spanned, like 7 years. And also incorporating other people's prayers in my life that were praying for that as well, my family and my friends and all in my community.
Yeah. I was praying against it, so it just shows sometimes prayers can go unanswered.
But I was thinking about Levi's sermon, and I just thought of like, and this isn't really something that he explicitly said, but it was the question that came to mind as I was thinking about it, which was like the different types of prayers that we're so okay
and with, the different sizes of prayer.
We're like so okay with them not being answered. Like, we're like, something that we pray for a lot, and I think Levi prays for a lot, is like revival and like the Lord just stirring in Anchorage. Yeah. And I'm so often like, oh yeah, like that's such a big prayer. Like, that'll probably never be answered. Like, that's me limiting God. But also then it's like my little prayers in my life. I'm like, God, why didn't you do that like little thing? Like, why didn't you like make me not get sick from COVID? Like, why didn't you do all these little things that I get so frustrated about? But the big prayers, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
I think it kind of goes back to a conversation that we've had previously. Is like, we're looking at God through like human glasses, We're like, we put the limitations on him, like the things that seemingly are under human control. If he didn't make an effect on that, then we're like, what the heck? But the things that are bigger, we're like, well,
we can do that. Yeah,
it's understandable. Like, I couldn't do anything about it. God can't do anything about it. That sort of. It's easier to write off when it's a larger thing, I think. But further in that, I often think about, the posture of our heart in prayer. Sometimes it can be pretty self-serving.
Oh, for sure.
And we sometimes will be praying for things for a long time and getting frustrated with God because we haven't seen his providence in those things yet. We haven't seen him come through in the ways that we imagine that he should. And so sometimes it takes a moment of reevaluation or reposturing of the heart to say, well, how can I align my prayers to instead be trying to fulfill my will, but be trying to work God's will into my life? And more so than that, maybe just making sure that the prayer that I'm praying is actually in accordance to God's will in my life. And it's not to say that that God's will isn't for your prayers to be executed, but just to say, who am I trying to serve in this prayer? Am I trying to serve myself, or am I trying to serve God through this prayer and trying to, advance his kingdom, spread his word, create a better space for me to be able to be a better servant of God through these prayers.
Yeah, I think a lot of times that plays out in timing. And I think for me, I think about my, the entirety of my prayer praying to one day be married, have a spouse, hopefully have kids, all those things. Like, yes, I think the outsider and even myself, like think, oh yeah, that's something that God, most likely wants me to have. He wants me to be happy. But then I think there were so many seasons of life where I thought that that's what I was going to get. Like I thought, oh, this person is the person that I've met and they're going to be my spouse. And then that didn't happen. And so I think that it's a lot of times just a timing issue and also, just a heart issue. It's not that God doesn't want good things for us, but ultimately he wants to grow us in relationship with him and grow us to be more like Jesus. And I look back at those years of praying and perseverance in prayer, but also frustration and being annoyed that I wasn't getting what I wanted and knowing that like I needed all of that to be able to be where I am now.
Yeah. Is God calling you closer in relation to him and asking you to be patient in your prayer process with him in order for him to prepare your heart for what's to come.
Yeah.
So that when your prayer is answered, you are fully prepared in your heart to receive what the Lord has provided for you.
Which I think is a really great application to end things on, because that is something that I really switched in my prayer life after years of praying to find a spouse. Like, you know what? No, I need to be praying that I am prepared for that when it happens.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's when things really started to shift for me. And that's when I started to really grow in my own faith and just into who I am as an individual. And so I would encourage everybody to pray that prayer, especially if you feel like you've been persisting with a certain prayer, that you would be praying for God to prepare you for when his will is done and when that prayer does get answered.
Absolutely. Any announcements or anything before we get out of here?
No, as we're going to be having fire starters every Wednesday night here at the church.
Just in a few hours.
Yeah, outside. We'd love to have you join us, fellowship and conversation.
Yeah. Well, until then, love you guys.
Bye.
See ya.